everyone, welcome back to my monthly vlog. My name is Ijaz, and today I want to talk about one line from the Kitab Alala that many student Islamic boarding schools have heard for years. It is a line that sounds very simple, but carries a very deep meaning. In the Nazm, we are told that knowledge cannot be attained except through six things: intelligence, strong desire, patience, sufficient resource, guidance from the teachers, and finally, Ṭūli Zamāni, a long period of time. Among these six conditions, the last one is especially interesting to me. Ṭūli Zamāni. Literally, it means a long time. For generations, this phrase has been understood in a very straightforward way. If you want knowledge, you must be willing to spend many years of studying. You must be patient. You must endure a long process. And that interpretation is totally true. No one becomes knowledgeable overnight. No one masters a discipline in a single week. Knowledge requires time, repetition, and persistence. But today, I want to ask a different question. In a modern world, does learning still depends mainly on how long we study? Or is there something else that matters just as much, perhaps even more? In other words, is success in learning determined by length of time or by the effectiveness of the method? This is not a rejection of the classical tradition. On the contrary, it is an attempt to understand that tradition more deeply, because perhaps Ṭūli Zamāni does not only mean spending many years in study. Perhaps it also means consistency, discipline, and the wise use of every moment. To understand this, let us look at how people learn today. In the past, access to knowledge was limited. Books were rare. Teachers were few. Travel took a long time. If a student wanted to master a subject, he often had to devote many years to it, simply because the process itself was totally slow. Today, however, our situation is very different. We have books, videos, online courses, dictionary, and of course, educational tools available almost instantly. Information is more accessible than at any other times in history. But despite this abundance, many students still struggle. They depend on studying, yet forget what they read. They review the same material, yet do not retain it. This suggests that time alone is not enough, and modern research support this idea. One important concept in learning science is active recall. Instead of repeatedly reading notes, students test themselves and force their brain to retrieve information. Another technique is spaced repetition, which helps move information from short-term memory to long-term memory. The psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus demonstrated the forgetting curve, showing that we forget much of what we learn unless we review it strategically. These findings lead to an important conclusion. The effectiveness of learning depends not only on effort and time, but also on method. Two students may spend the same number of hours studying. One may simply reread the material, the others may use active recall and spaced repetition. After a month, the results can be dramatically different. This does not only means that time is unimportant, it means that time becomes truly valuable when it is used wisely. And this is where the wisdom of Ṭūli Zamāni become. And this is where the wisdom of Ṭūli Zamāni becomes even more profound. Perhaps the past is not merely about duration. Perhaps it is about endurance, returning to knowledge again and again, and using each moment with intention. In this sentence, a student who study effectively for a shorter period may embody the spirit of Ṭūli Zamāni more fully than someone who studies for years without focus. Because the sense of the teaching is not simply to remind and study for a long time. The essence is to commit oneself to the pursuit of knowledge. A student, and especially a santri, this is a very important lesson. Sometimes we think that success comes only from spending more time, but time by itself does not guarantee understanding. What matters is the quality of our attention, the consistency of our practice, and the sincerity of our attention. A single focused hour can be more beneficial than many distracted hours. So, should we still respect the past Ṭūli Zamāni? Absolutely. But perhaps we should understand but perhaps we should understand it in a broader way. Yes, knowledge requires time. Yes, mastery cannot be rushed. Yes, patience remains essential. But in the modern era, we are also called to be strategic, thoughtful, and efficient. Maybe that is one of the deepest meaning of this beautiful line. Not merely to study for a long time, but to honor time. Because in the end, knowledge is not measured only by the number of years we spend studying. It is measured by how sincerely we seek it, how consistently we return to it, and how intelligently we use the time entrusted to us. So the next time you hear words Ṭūli Zamāni, do you think only about do not think only about length. Think about commitment. Think about patience. And think about effective learning. And the last, think about how to make every moment count. Thank you for watching. Pinag, I'm sorry if there is any wrong for my pronunciation. I'm Ijaz and I will see you again in the next monthly vlog. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.